How we doing? We are back with the PHiSH after show, and perhaps it will go down as one of the most iconic things they ever did. We may have a special guest coming on if I can get a picture from him. But how are you doing tonight, Amanda?
I'm catching my breath, and I didn't even move for the last 5 hours. Wow.
Wow, it was fantastic. It was fantastic. So we're gonna do like we normally do. We're gonna hit the first set, and then we'll get into the other because there's a little something to talk about with the first set there. So we got the everything's right. I was like, wow, we're gonna go Bliss tonight. I felt like as we were going through this, solid everything's right. I mean, any thoughts on it? It was nothing to write home about with, I feel like, the versions that they normally do when you get 19 minutes.
Yeah, I was thinking about you because I remember seeing some tweets from you last night about, Bliss, are we going to go dark? Where are we at? And so I was thinking, all right, what's Kev going with? At this point we just started, and, then that tube. And I'm thinking, okay, we could take this somewhere. But that ether edge, and I was telling you that I had some thoughts about this one, Kevin. So I don't know if anyone out there had seen some of the subreddits. This was back in the summer when that song debuted for PHiSH. Apparently, for some of us, there's kind of like a connection to some Christian songs, which I had not thought about until I started reading all of the threads about it. And now I can't think of anything else. I'm sure that's not what was intended. But if you're curious, you can go and search for it. And there is a little bit of a connection to some melody there. So that poor song now, that's all I can think about when I hear it. So.
Well, I mean, Evolve is written from the perspective of God. Maybe Trey is, into reading that kind of stuff there. So, I mean, where are you? I don't know. The song doesn't do much for me. If it wasn't played anymore, I'd be okay. I think that he has other stronger stuff, but
much more. And now it's just got a connotation that I can't ignore. So sorry out there if you haven't heard of it. I'm not going to give any more details, but it's out there. You can look it up.
There you go. Oh no, bad takes already. So Reba was fantastic. I feel like Trey really, they nailed it. Nothing extra to it. Straight run through, but solid. Yeah. And they whistled.
They did, and I think it was Josh Atlas called it a tight jeans Reba. I like that. I'm going to go with that from now on. That sums it up for me. Good tight jeans Reba. Yeah.
That's fantastic. All right. I know everybody wants to get the Gamehenge. Yes, Reba was money, Sully. I'm totally with you there. And in the middle of the set, that's a fantastic spot for it. It's a nice stretch out there in the middle. And then we got Taste, a couple times this year. They've broken it out a few times, and it seems an odd choice to start getting plays as it's a harder tune to play, but this rendition, I feel like they made it through without any missteps.
Yeah, and now that I'm trying to put myself back at that point in the night, which is actually super hard to do because I'm a different person now than I was, back then. My notes were, gosh, I really wanted more from that. I love when they just really, really take it, and kind of where I was feeling in that set at that moment, I just wanted it to just blast off totally. I now retract some of my statements about that. It was great for where we were, and then Ruby Waves. I've had a lot to say about that in the past on here, I feel like. So in terms of a song that I'm not always still for some reason super excited, and then you get into it and it's always going to give you something. But then Life Beyond a Dream. Let me not get too far ahead of myself. What did you think of that Ruby Waves that we got?
Well, I think Jason knows how I feel about it. I can't stand the lyrics.
Where I'm at with it too,
Right? And the jam, usually the jam is the payoff, but
yeah,
there was no jam. They like, I guess I feel like Trey was like, I want to get a bunch of songs in, and I knew that I have nothing else but Gamehenge, what's written into that. So he threw in the Ruby Waves, and he's like, I know I want to do a Life Beyond a Dream with this run. So, I'm cutting Ruby Waves short. I had a fear in the moment while doing Ruby Waves that he was going to have a thing like last night where he just wasn't finding it over and over again.
Mhm.
All right, I'm going to try to bring Tim in. Are you there?
Yeah, man, I can hear you. Sorry about the service. My voice is fucked up.
Why?
Listen, I'm not going to stay long. You guys are awesome. Thank you, Amanda. I appreciate you jumping in.
What up, man?
In my fucked up state, I'm just going to say that this very well may be the best show I've seen. And I don't think it was the best executed, and I don't think it was the best set list. But what they did for us tonight is fucking everything you want from a band or an artist. And I am eternally grateful and on cloud nine. I love you, Kevin. I love you, Amanda. I love Wook Plus. I love all the viewers. I fucking love PHiSH. Tonight was a good night. Honestly, like, listen, this fucking shit was great. I've seen a lot of shows. I'm not like flexing, but I've seen a lot of shows. Tonight was special. It wasn't the best production. It wasn't the biggest theatrics. It wasn't the most balloons, but it was fucking special. It really was, and I appreciate all you guys, and I had a great fucking time. I just wanted to call in and say, tonight was a great night. I love you guys.
I love you.
Happy New Year, Kev. Happy New Year, Amanda.
Happy New Year. I'll talk to you in the morning.
I have no voice, so I might not talk to you, but I'll definitely text you.
All right. Be safe.
All right, man. Have a good night.
All right. So, all right. You know, I am so happy for Tim. I am so psyched. It's like the scene in Goodfellas when Pesci gets made, but I don't want Tim to get capped. But you know, De Niro's like, we made it, one of us, you know.
I feel that energy, that post-show energy. We all know it. I mean, there's nothing like it. That was the best. That was great.
Yeah, that was fantastic. So then they get Character Zero, and you know, I love Character Zero. It's a big rock and roll song, but this one was even short. So
yeah,
I don't know. Walking out of this, I was like, oh boy. I was like, we're definitely getting pillow jets for the gag. So boy, was I wrong.
Many jets. How many jets? That was a question on your mind.
Right, exactly. I got an open window down there. All right, so make sure you like, subscribe. If you're watching this later, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. If you're here live, please comment. We try to get the stuff. Sometimes it moves quick. Sometimes we're deep in thought. And join us Tuesday. We have the Wook Club, and we're doing a PHiSH show this week. I don't know what it is. Check the social medias. Wednesday, we're probably going to have a big recap about all this stuff on Live at 9:00. And Amanda, why don't you tell them a little bit about what our project is together?
Yeah, I would love to. So All That Jam, that's a podcast that we've had going for a year and a half now or so. And so it's not just weekly anymore. Mondays are our big episode, but we're dropping content every single day. We had over 100 interviews this year alone. It's jam band scene adjacent. So definitely check it out. Tons of content and bite size. So you can just pop that on. Yeah, at any time.
You can listen while you're dropping your kids off. All right, let's jump into set 2. So Down with Disease. I was down with there he is. What's going on?
Oh, how about that?
You're in the train, you're in the tunnels?
I'm in the subway.
Look at this. On the scene.
So how was it?
It's gonna take a while to process that. It was incredible.
I hear you. We could feel it at home. We could feel it coming out of just the energy of the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what my buddies watching at home said too. Like, you could hear it, you could kind of see it. It was intense in there. That was awesome.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
If I start breaking up, go ahead.
I was gonna say, just Trey up there with the smile, watching everything. Like, my dream has come true. I've waited my whole life for this.
I was gonna say, I mean, can you imagine that writing that in like what 89, 190, whatever, and then being able to play it 30 years later, 30 years later at MSG?
Right.
What a dream come true! Like how crazy is that? And who would ever thought we'd ever see that? So it's just mind blowing. It's incredible.
Uh-oh.
He hung in there a lot longer than I thought.
He hung in there a lot longer than we thought.
That's impressive.
All right. If he pops back, he can pop himself in there. So, down with disease. I felt like you kind of knew that was coming. And again, then he was 7 minutes, he's done. And I'm just like, this is going to be a train wreck tonight. But
then Jimmy shows up.
and that's what we wanted. That was the answer to all your questions, huh?
That's right. I mean, it's sometimes so gratifying when the rumors really pay off and it happens. I mean, there's always so much of that, but I just love the fact that it worked out the way that so many people were saying that it would.
Right.
And that Harpua, God, super special.
You can't get away from the rumors unless you don't want to be on social media.
I love them. Give them to me. I'm all about it.
Yeah. So the Harpua, interesting. We get into the story. It's a pretty normal Harpua, and then all of a sudden, Jimmy's dad is actually gaslighting him, and we bring in a strong female presence for Jimmy's life, who happened to be what was her name?
Annie Golding.
Annie Golden. Yeah, she was in a band called The Shirts. I believe she was in Hair, the movie version of Hair. So
yeah,
fantastic.
And she owned it. Like, she truly owned what she was doing, and I loved watching every single thing that she did. I mean, she had such a connection with Trey, I mean, with everybody, but that dialogue that she was having to me was just one of my personal favorite things of the whole night, to see the interaction. Mm-hmm. I would never have expected that. I mean, the production, yes, dancing, costumes, totally. That was something different for me to see that happen. And I just thought it was brilliant.
And Jimmy was Mitchell Sink?
Mitchell Sink. Yeah, and he was in Crowded Room. His sister's an actress. I did a little bit of Googling before we popped on. And the credits rolled and had everybody else that was a part of that kind of main cast.
Right, exactly, yes. So we get that, and then we have we go into the magical land of Gamehenge. Now, our first clue, because the debate is going to be, or the debate already is, was this a true Gamehenge or not? And Trey said right off the top that we're going to tell you the real story tonight. So by default, anything else was not a real Gamehenge.
Right. I mean, if we really want to go word for word, literally, and the reason, Kevin, I'm glad you mentioned this, I don't want to get too far ahead, but as I'm sitting there and I was texting you, I was a little bit confused at a certain point of just the song order and thinking this is obviously Gamehenge, but things felt just a teeny little bit out of whack. And then I started looking into the other Gamehenge sets, and it was a little bit different, but really great for some of the additions they put in. And I think some of the changes to the order. What got me, I think, where I was curious was Wilson and where that was coming in, because you had Punch, you had AC/DC before Wilson. So there were some changes, but I feel like it flowed really well for what they were trying to do. I was also just so enamored with the whole thing that honestly, maybe if I watched it again, I might feel differently, but I can't imagine that I would.
Noogie, I am a big Clapton fan. Everybody knows that. So the original order is Lizards, Tela, Wilson, Bag, Forbin, Mockingbird, Sloth, Possum. Okay, so we got the man who stepped into yesterday, the main theme. We got the Lizards, solid Lizards. You know, I was thinking, I was still, you know me, I'm an internal doubter. I'm like, they're probably just going to do Lizards and then do something else. You know, but no, let's bust out, punch you in the eye, and say this isn't your dad's Gamehenge.
That's right. And I had actually earlier today, so Kev, you know this, but this is my 28th anniversary of my first PHiSH show, which was New Year's 95. And I was hoping for a punch opener just for old time's sake. So I got it in a much better place than I would have ever imagined. I think it was perfect there, honestly. But that to me was almost going to fill the spot of what Wilson might have been. I was just trying to figure out what they were doing and where they were going with this, just like you. Are they going to keep it? Are they going to move forward? You know, and they did. And I thought that bag was just fantastic. I needed that. I was so stoked when they really took that out.
They did. They gave answers to a lot of questions through So I'm not sure who he said, but yes, the bag. So they had the problem of doing Broadway Gamehenge, and they have all the props. So how do you get everything moved in? Well, you take Bag, which is a song that in the past has been jammed out, and you harken back to 97 and just do a throwdown 20-minute Bag and bring Tela in on a unit monster.
Works for me. And yeah, so it was Jimmy's cousin Reba, just kind of going back to some of that family tree dynamics of which
and Esther's Jimmy's cousin, and Reba was Reba was the grandmother in the ladle. Yeah, it was something about the ladle. That was fantastic. Good for them.
It's good stuff, you know, filling in the gaps there. McGrupp was set 3, right? So we'll be getting to that.
Yes, we will get to that. Yeah. So the bag is really fantastic. I like that they incorporated that in there instead of having it strictly like it used to be. You play just the straight version of it and you're in and out. But there was the less tray dialogue, and having the other actors do it, I think, helped move it along too. And then we got the Tela, which should have been after Lizards, but it makes sense here, I guess.
It does. And like I said, I really need to go back and kind of just listen to what they did. I think it was super smart, the flow that they got, because if they had really tried to stick to that very traditional kind of 7 song exactly the way it was, I honestly don't know if it would have had the same impact. They extended it. And I think to extend it, sometimes you have to shift some things around a little bit. And so it worked. It didn't feel awkward or anything. You know?
When she spun up, that was so cool. I wish Live PHiSH had a set a camera somewhere in the center. You know, I know we always talk about wanting to see the lights, but sometimes they're showing like, you know, the back of Trey's butt, and you're like, I want to see what's going on out there.
I don't know. It works out a lot. Maybe they just have a contractual, obligation or something. No, that would be cool. I mean, I think they do a great job for all the stuff that's going on, but that would be great.
Yeah, Prince Bowie, no Kong and no Iculus there, and that was a little strange.
Yeah. Although, to be fair, there was a Kong in 94 the first time, the earlier version. They haven't done that every time. So we think of it like that, but, that's not a given. The given is a 7-song pack.
Yeah, the given are the original 7. Yeah, but so we get a Llama, and another one of the peripheral songs, one of my favorites, and it was straight out of 94. I mean, it just ripped. It sounded like that they were, you thought that they weren't going to be able to keep up with themselves. They were tearing at it so hard.
They were, and that is one that often shows up much earlier, not necessarily within that pack, but a little bit earlier in a Gamehenge set. But again, super cool placement for what they were trying to do. So that one I noted because it kind of threw me that they popped it in there at first. But I think it was a solid Llama for sure. Even though it was super quick, it did what it needed to do because it's a Gamehenge set.
Right. Now, Colonel Forbin was named Jeff Williams. They mentioned him, but he didn't sing or speak, I don't think, did he?
Not that I can remember. There's a lot going on,
There wasn't a lot going on. And with Wilson, we got a duet with Joe Lampert, who was at Tom Marshall's party. She was one of the people on stage there. She was at the Bowie show. She was one of the backup singers. She also was at the Beacon Run. Trey did. She was one of the backup singers. So Trey has a relationship with her, and I thought the duet with her and Trey was just fantastic.
It was great, and it was such a surprise too. I think adding that layer, it really brought a lot to the song, and I love that they take that extra step. I mean, with everything, you know. Right. I want one of those lizard costumes too, by the way. I'm just going to see if there's any extras floating around. Look good on stage.
It did. Tela was named Rebecca Magazine, and Rutherford was Daniel Gaiman. They didn't have any lines, so even though the stuff that Rebecca was doing there was some acrobatic stuff there, I must say.
Yeah, definitely. And if you look up her Instagram, there's a lot more there about her work. She works with the Met Opera, a whole bunch of different studios. Really, really talented.
There you go. And then out of Wilson, we get Sloth, which was, they made the joke. They did the Sloth joke that he was too slow to kill Wilson. And just so fantastic. Though he did the Hitman line, he explained that the Sloth, the only person in Gamehenge who could kill a king. And I always love that piece of the dialogue.
My first thought was, I hope that this Sloth moves super slowly. And I just was like, this is going to be the performance of the whole show, you know, just make it happen. It was so perfect.
It was great. I was thinking of there's some Disney or Pixar movie that has a sloth in it at the Department of Motor Vehicles. I was like, yeah, that's that guy. So Divided Sky. Now, my first show, many moons ago, they did something called the Rhombus Story and Divided Sky, and I listened to this guy on stage talking. I had no idea what the hell he was talking about till many years later that I got a tape of it and put the whole thing together in my head. But I thought Divided Sky was the perfect way to end the set.
I agree, because McGrupp would often typically would come right after Sloth. Mm-hmm. But to me, that definitely felt like you needed that point. At some point, you had to stop, right? We have to get ready for midnight. And so again, and to have it be, over 10 minutes after everything that they just did, to me, it did not feel like a phone in at all. They gave it what it needed. And so to me, it felt like a very strong closer for everything that had just happened. And we knew we were going to get that 3-pack, coming up, or at least I was hoping that we would. Right. But even if we didn't, still would have been a fantastic second set, of course.
Well, didn't he say at the end, it's too long. We'll be back in 15 minutes. Or no, she yelled. The grandmother yelled. 15 minutes. That's fantastic. So good. Where are you on people who it not being completely quiet during Divided Sky? I noticed that annoys some people. I don't know how you get a whole place to be quiet. I can't say I've ever heard a Divided Sky where the whole place was quiet because there's always someone shushing someone.
Well, I know, right? Very little annoys me, but I was a middle school teacher for a long time. So I think that my radar for that kind of stuff is just not maybe what a normal person's is. Right. No, I mean, it's impossible. It's a special moment. If you want to be quiet and absorb it, do that. Right. But,
There you go.
Again,
all right. So, boom. We're back. Llama is never too fast, Joshua. Mm-hmm. I agree with you. The faster, the better. Do it the speed of a Minor Threat song. We got set 3. So we open with McGrupp, which, as you said, was the traditional closer. But normally when that's the traditional closer, Forbin and Mockingbird were long gone. So I thought it was great that they threw that on the end, and they had the poor guy walking on the rhombus, and oh boy, I just every time I see like live acrobats like that, I'm like, I don't know.
The detail
got stuck.
I know, right? Well, of course, yeah, we're probably all kind of wondering, like, oh, this is going to be good. But in my mind, I'm always thinking of, I guess it was the petrichor gag, or maybe another one. You had to see that behind the scenes, the meat stick. I'm already thinking, I hope that they put out something at some point that gives us some insight into the preparations for this.
Right. I hope they have angles too. They should release it as a DVD. Just take my money. I will buy the thing. Or I guess, I don't know. Do they have DVDs anymore?
I didn't blink, but we know how old I am, so.
Right. There you go. There you go. Oh, I forgot the time on first two. Whoops. All right. So Forbin and then Mockingbird. The Mockingbird, they had the Mockingbird with the book in his mouth. It was so cool. It just made me smile.
I mean, they don't leave anything out. And I think that's one thing that year after year never ceases to amaze me about them. They're going to pick those small moments that we're going to notice, because we do, and they're going to do it. And I love that so much. Plus, Mockingbird has some just great sections musically in it. And I'm glad that we got that, because I was thinking that maybe we wouldn't at that point. And I was cool with that. But it's a beautiful song. And I think it's another one they did justice to. We were coming right up on midnight, too. So I was curious kind of how far they were going to go.
I think the strings and the chorus with it just so made it. It you know, I would love to see Trey try to bust that one out when he does an orchestral thing again. I think that would be a great song to do, you know, have all the violins fluttering there. So then we got the Auld Lang Syne, and that was the end of Gamehenge. In my mind, that was the end of it, even though Trey threw out something about a volcano and went into melt, so all of a sudden it split open and melt the volcano. Is Iculus going to be out of this, you know? Hey, are you back in the room?
I'm back in the room.
Nice.
That's right.
We got through Mockingbird to Auld Lang Syne, Lang Syne, whatever the hell it is. So what did you make of him saying that the volcano, and then they went into melt, but there was no, well, they did Possum, but you know.
Yeah. Well, it's funny though, was Mockingbird, when they did the New Year's thing, it was 2 minutes early. I don't know if anybody else noticed that, but like everybody in our row, everybody around was like, wait a minute, we're like 3 minutes early. I guess we're just pretending it's midnight. Like, it was really funny. Like, everyone had that same reaction. So we went through the whole midnight thing and everything, and then it was still, and then it turned midnight, like afterwards, like after we did everything. It was kind of funny. But the melt, all the lizards falling into, was a little morbid. Like, all the lizards dying, falling into the holes on the stage was hilarious to watch, but a little bit morbid. Would you ask me, Kev? That melt was insane. I mean,
yeah,
another one. It wasn't quite the craziness of the Dix melt, but it was still so solid, like just incredible.
Right. Amanda and I were discussing, already people were online saying it wasn't a true Gamehenge. Where are you on that?
It's funny because I thought about that as it was going, because it was out of order and there was some, you know, like different things thrown in there, like the punch, and you know, Possum came after everything in that set. So I don't know. I'd be interested to hear, like, this is where I really like to have an interview with them and ask them, like, what, you know, like, just explain, like, just tell us what was the thinking or what was behind the way you laid the songs out and did it that way. So I don't know. To be honest with you, it doesn't matter that it was like, I think what we got was something we never thought we would ever get, and to just be thankful that we got what we got, and it'll never happen again, and it happened this time, and wow, just, I mean, you know, of course we're gonna bitch about it, and people are gonna, but whatever. Like, it was, I don't know. I still need to process it all, but it was amazing.
It was amazing. It was. So yeah, the melt though, they got out there. I mean, in a year, it probably isn't the best melt of the year, because the melts this year have just been all off the charts. But yeah, I felt it was perfect there, and I didn't think about all the lizards dying. Maybe that's how it ended.
I mean, why not? You know, and that last lizard, I'm curious how it must have been live, but there was like a little extra flair. So that one just kind of made her way off the stage. I was like, that is just so fantastic.
Yeah, that one was hilarious. It felt like that was the same. I don't know if it was, because I couldn't see from our seats, but it felt like that was the same actor person that was playing the Wilson, like during the Wilson song, who was doing her dance and stuff, because her moves and her dancing was just like so raw, like she was into it, you know what I mean? Like, she just, it felt like she didn't want to go off stage, and it was one of those moments too where Trey was kind of smiling and watching it. Like, he cracked. I don't know if you guys can see on the, I'm sure you can see it on the webcast, but the sloth part, he cracked up with the sloth like going so slow across the stage. Like he lost it twice, like laughing. It was so funny to watch. Like again,
I'm
I
so
don't know.
glad they went with the joke.
The
And it
joy.
must have been the joy and the laughter from him seeing this all come to life, you know, and do it had to be so funny. And not to mention the production value and the money they must have spent just for that rhombus thing to come up out of there. And, you know, like we always thought, like, just like that. But this year I felt like the money was well spent and like really crazy. You know, again, I don't know if you could see it on the webcast, but at midnight they shot, it was sort of confetti, but it was like little white paper that came down from the ceiling and like 4 or 5 different areas. And the little notes of the paper had like messages written on them. I snagged a couple, but they're really nonsensical and funny, but you know, in typical PHiSH fashion. Kind of hilarious with that too, that instead of doing the balloons and all that stuff, it was like these little, like, I don't know, I'll have to read them and go through them when I have a chance. But like, it's really funny to like at the end of the show, like look at those and be like, oh, so there was things written on them and like this weird confetti messages. So that was cool too.
I think balloons are done because of the environmental concerns.
I do too. Yeah, I don't think they'll ever bring those back. But you could see the dry run with the whales and the dolphins turned into the Mockingbird, as you guys were just talking about, flying around the arena, you know, which was awesome to see again, that kind of thing. It's just, it's still such a wow factor when that even, like, even though you've seen it once, like that, and then the characters walking through the crowd, they had a, you know, the canoe guy come through one way and then the multi-beast went around all the way around the other way, which was cool. So yeah, a lot of fun, all that kind of stuff.
Is.
So I don't know how you could say it wasn't the true game. I mean, they had the characters in there. They told the story, you know what I mean? And it felt like almost a combination of a Broadway production of Gamehenge and the New Year's gag type thing, you know what I mean? Like if you were to go to a show that's kind of, it might not be the actual interpretation like original, but it's a version of it. So
think about how long it's been. I mean, there's all these years, right, that they had to think about what would we do? How would we want to do this? I mean, who knows how long they've been thinking and planning this and kind of figuring it out, or not, I'm not sure. But, you know, there's a ton of production decisions. To me, and we were saying this earlier, what they did was make it that full concept. Yeah. And they used all their resources, all the songs that you could put in there. And to me, it was just a fantastic kind of connection of songs that maybe we hadn't heard in there before or in that way. And I will say that's a great point of like they what they did with it and turned it into was something maybe unexpected but still spectacular. Just shows what they can do with whatever. Mm-hmm. Totally.
Yeah. Joe Lampert is her name. So she was Aaron Wolf. I guess she was ERIN Wolf today.
Right.
That's right. I was calling him AARON, and like 3 different people corrected me on Twitter. And all
of course.
That's what Twitter's for.
Yeah.
So we got the yam. Waiting for it. You had mentioned it. You've been talking about a yam, and fantastic.
Yeah.
I loved it. My kid walked down during the vocal jam and she goes, really? And I was like, sorry, baby.
And what was interesting, Kev, like you had just said with that melt not being kind of like the, you know, some of the bigger melts this year. I thought Jam and Yam actually, like there was a couple big jams tonight, right? Like the Divided Sky jam, the AC/DC bag jam. I thought this Yam had a good jam in it. But everything else, like the first set was very, you know, played to time because they wanted to time everything out. So there wasn't a lot of big, like Tube was jammed out, but it wasn't jammed out, right? Like it was just kind of a little micro jam sort of type thing in there. And I kind of felt that way with some of the other songs throughout the show, that like things weren't really brought out like they would have been in a normal show like the Melt or something, right? Because it's part of this other thing. So you're kind of under the time constraints of
the disease.
Whatever. Right.
The disease was 7 minutes, you know?
Exactly. That kind of thing. So I think once they got out of the Gamehenge and realized, okay, now we have time on our side here to play with again, we can do a 20-minute yam and get that into it, and then do a Loving Cup, which I thought would close the set, but they threw the Possum in there as well. So you're like, oh, they're really going. And then, you know, the 3-song encore, which again, you're like, okay, we're just they're gonna go overtime a little bit here and not care about it, but fuck it.
Yeah, I forgot to put the last song on. Damn it.
I know, I was like, wait, there was a reprise, right? I'm not.
Yeah,
I didn't imagine that.
There was, and
At
I'm
that
not
point,
Yeah, right.
I guess I gotta.
you're allowed.
But I will say, I'm going to jump ahead for a second here and just say that I know we haven't got to, but I've been thinking this all night. At Dick's, that Sunday rain show of Dick's, we got the first tube tweezer, but it felt so not what you want a first tube tweezer reprise to be because of how not great that whole set was and what had gone on and everything like that. So it just kind of felt like this tacked on. Whereas tonight was like exactly how you want a first tube reprise to be, like at the end of this insane show with the energy through the roof in there and just end it like that. So that was a really cool kind of.
I thought for sure first tube was going to disintegrate into Iculus.
Yeah, I was surprised we didn't get an Iculus somewhere in there tonight too. Like that was a little bit shocking not to get that in the storyline with everything. But can't.
By the time it was all said and done, I don't know. I mean, I can see where you're coming from there. I think that I had some relief mentally when we got out of Gamehenge, and then it was just, okay, I am just so happy right now. I am going to enjoy this. And it almost felt like a breather, which normally You Enjoy Myself is not a song that I'm going to consider to be that way, or, Cavern or something, but just to be able to kind of take a step back and think about what just happened, but enjoy the fact that now we're getting all of this other music on top of that. It's like ridiculous,
Oh, well,
the Possum just was out. They were going for broke.
So much
After everything they played, all those songs they played, they were like, we're giving it everything we have. We're leaving it on the table.
I mean, those last three out of that vocal jam into that Loving Cup was just like boom. And then, and then out of that Loving Cup into that Possum, like you said, Kev, was just fucking fire. Like, yeah. It's great.
Love it.
Love it.
Cavern is one of my favorites. So that's always welcome. And it's kind of Gamehenge. It's got some weird story going on. I know it's never officially part of it, but
it's
I always felt like it's adjacent.
It's got that vibe to it for sure. I like to see it in an encore. I mean, for all times played, it's still relatively, less likely to get it in an encore. So I think that's pretty cool. So I enjoyed that. And, first tube, I just kept saying, like, they got to be done. Like, are we just going to go till 3? Like, is this officially late night now? Sorry to everybody else, but fantastic.
Yeah, totally agree.
Is it just a one-time fine, or is it by the minute?
Exactly. Well, yeah, we all know that feeling, right? Like, when's that train?
Exactly.
I think they probably. I mean, I know it was like it's a 1 o'clock curfew, but I feel like as tight as they are with MSG and things like that, I feel like they have a bit of a cushion anyway. Before they really get the hard fine or whatever. You know what I mean? So I feel like there's a little bit of an overlap there that they can get through without being obnoxious and going 20 minutes over or whatever, type thing. So
right.
Hopefully, because I'm sure the budget was already.
Oh, that was not what I meant to do. Here we go. We did not talk about this, but in Tube, I definitely heard we're going to do it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Which was your first clue.
For sure.
We're going to do it.
You're going to make it after all.
Like, what?
Oh, my God. And first Tube Tweezer Reprise. Good for them. Great way to finish it off. I mean,
Trey loves being that guitar rock star hero during that song. Like, he cannot sit still. He's like facing every direction, getting the cheers from each side of the arena, like stepping out front. Like, it's just so fun to see him in that. And at that point, the adrenaline must just have been the relief of what they just did, and the adrenaline has to just be so much out there, and he's just eating it up.
I was thinking
he's going to sleep good.
he's not going to sleep for a while on that.
Exactly.
He shouldn't.
Exactly.
I feel like, I mean, I know we're just out of it, but this is going to be up there with the top New Year's ever.
Agreed. I mean, I don't know if Ted mentioned it, but he said it in our chat that it might be one of like his top show, and I have to marinate on it a little bit, probably re-listen to it. But walking out of there tonight, I could say like I haven't felt like that at a PHiSH show. Honestly, since like 1.0 era, I can't even think of a time since 1.0 when I was like that energy in that arena, like what we just saw. It was something totally new and different, right? Like it was something you totally didn't expect. Like it was just off the charts. And as good as they always are and as fun as they always are, this was like a next level of that tonight, and it was just spectacular.
So did they raise the bar for what they have to do this year?
I mean, Mexico's next, right? So Mexico, I don't know what to expect out of that, but the Sphere now, I mean, like how, I don't know. Like next year's going to be insane. Like my wife and I were talking about after the show. I was like, Mexico's one thing, but then you've got the Sphere and then you've got the festival next year. So like this is just sort of teeing up this year to come. So
who knows?
Who knows, right?
So good. So
new
good.
album coming. So who knows? I mean, the most important thing is that they're still creating and they could pull this off 30 years later and they're still brilliant and the most amazing musicians on the planet. So we should just all be so lucky.
I hope that this run was a move away from the Soul Planets and the Set Your Souls Free. They didn't show up. A lot more darker stuff. The whole Gamehenge thing, even though some of it's very blissy, like the end of Lizards and all, it's dark. I mean,
it's wrapped up in a whole package, that is PHiSH and why we love them. And I agree. It all serves a purpose.
Yeah, it does. Exactly. True.
Amazing.
Is this for us? Because I'll tell you, tonight it's a letter to the 5 boroughs.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Nice.
Fantastic.
I like it.
Fantastic. So you got any closing thoughts there, T?
Like I said, I need to marinate. Like Tim and I will have plenty to talk about later this week, and we'll do a breakdown on everything and talk about all the shows as well as tonight again. But like I said, first impression, I don't know how it's not a top 3 show ever, and for me personally, and just what a band, what a community, what a band, what an arena, what a place. I mean, just what a way to start the new year. Happy New Year to everybody out there. Thanks for everything last year.
I have a feeling we're going to get a call tomorrow, T, from Tim. We need to go on. We need to talk about this.
We already talked about it tonight. I was like, I don't get back to home until tomorrow evening, but I was like, if you want to do it tomorrow night or I don't even know what today is, Monday, Tuesday, whenever you want to do
today
it.
Today is Monday. It is Monday.
So, Tuesday or something. Yeah, we'll figure it out. But I know I feel like he's going to be thinking on that train ride home tonight about everything he wants to talk about. And we're going to have a meeting tomorrow and have a lot to discuss. So, yeah.
Fantastic. And like Amanda said, make sure you check out All That Jam. Want to thank everybody for joining us. Make sure Tuesday night we have the Wook Club. I don't know the show off the top of my head. And on Wednesday, I'm sure we're going to talk about this even more.
Yeah, you can count on it. We'll be talking about this for a long time, I think. Yeah.
Right. But hopefully on Wednesday night we'll be able to do all 4. We'll all have caught our thoughts and be able to lay that down. So with that, thank you, Amanda, so much. Love having you here. T,
yes.
Good to see you.
Kev, Happy New Year, everybody.
New Year.